we try to have. But once Kosovo starts, it's the coach. Yeah. It's not me. I will not phone him and tell him, hey, you have to do this, if you have to do that. He's the coach at that moment, and for me, it's okay like that.
Because I would have assumed that if there's a player that the coach is uncertain about, that they want to see, perhaps that would be your influence to say, hey guys, we've got Kosovo coming up. I've wanted to see this player or that player. Is it possible that you throw him in that squad so I'm able to get a look at him?
Yes, but this is possible. This is possible. But I think the coach who was at Kosovo now did it very well. So there was no reason to call him or to tell him, hey, I like to see this one, I like to see this one. So he changed a lot also in this team. So it was what it has to be.
Well, Coach speaks of family. We've got family in the building as well. The members of the media that always join us when we have these, they show their support by coming to the SABC, of course, and being a part of our conversations. Please welcome the members of the media who will a little bit later on share their voices and views as they ask questions at will to the coach and all ourselves as well. Also, the head of sport here at the SABC, Kelezo Totlanyo, is going to be joining us because there's been speculations and thoughts in and around the relationship between the SABC as well as the South African Football Association. Are we going to be seeing Bafana Bafana games live right here on the SABC Sport platform, or has there something that's happened between that relationship which will not allow you, Hlelekhaya, or Utibonele Midlalo? Velile, you've seen the squad in front of you.
Yes.
You've had a look at it. Before I go to the coach, what's your overall feeling with what the coach has done?
Very exciting. And I think I just want to start a bit on the point you were raising with coach around the Kosovo. If you look even in the squad that has been selecting over the 2 years that you've been here now, coach, a player like Nico Mobi, a player like Saleng, these are players that the coach had seen in that initial Kosovo Cup squad and impressed him from there. So it tells you that if players impress in these matches, even when maybe the coach is not fully involved, and we've seen, I know there's been a lot of questions in the past about Nico Mobi, but you also have said that he's never disappointed you even once. So I think we've seen the importance of these matches, and I think even when you look at the latest squad, we've seen some of the players who've been coming from there, but very exciting team, especially the attack.
Well, very exciting. We'll get to it. Coach, I want to take a break and we come back and we'll have the coach give us the national team. But before we do that, how difficult was it to choose a squad? Because you look at the PSL at the moment, we're 4 or 5 games in. You'd have selected it before the 5th game even. So we're 3 or 4 games in when you choose that. We've just come from a break. What were some of the challenges, as well as internationally as well? We're a couple of games into some of the international leagues. Did that give you any issues at all, any challenges?
It's always difficult in September. Like you said, the competition has just started in every country. So it's difficult also to see the players, or maybe 2 or 3 games, not more than that. But if I compare with 1 year ago, it's less difficult because now at last I have a team. And that team doesn't change so much. And when I say a team, it's 25, 30 players.
Okay.
They're always the same, except there is someone who's really doing very well in competition that deserves to be with Bafana Bafana. But for the rest of the selection is not difficult. But now the other difficulty starts that I have to choose. I have sometimes more players or several players for the same position. So the choice has to be made, but I'm happy with that. I'm happy if you have to choose, better that than not to know which player to take.
Has there been a change perhaps in your view of South African football and South African players from the time that you got here to now? I mean, I remember at the beginning it was a bit difficult to try and understand a lot of things.
Yeah, but in the beginning it was difficult because there was no team. When I came here, everything was negative. The coach was negative, the players were negative, the results were negative. So we had to start nearly on zero. And for me it was difficult because I didn't know any player of South Africa, except a few. So I had to know the players. There are 16 teams. Take 20 players, there's 320 players. I had to start knowing them. So it took time. And in the beginning, there are some critics also because I didn't take this one, I didn't take this one. But the first thing I wanted to know here in this country was, do we have good young players?
Yeah.
So, and that was my search in the beginning.
Yeah, that was a strategy when you started, I remember, yeah.
And I think I made the right direction at that moment to do that. And then little by little, to put the more experienced players with, so that now we have a team of a good mix of good young players and experienced older players.
Well, I look forward to hearing that. That mix is right in front of me. It's in front of the coach. He's going to be giving it to us after the break. Also, when we come back, the relationship between us here at the SABC as SABC Sport and the South African Football Association. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're just in time. It's the State of the National Team address. Bafana Bafana to play 2 games in September versus Namibia as well as Congo DR. The national team coach Hugo Broos is with us now alongside my colleague in Velile Mnyandu, SABC's very own. We're speaking about all things Bafana Bafana and what influenced the 23-man squad that has been chosen for these 2 games in September. Coach, we know the local game. You've been here since it opened. We see you at every single game. You're watching the 3, 4, 5 matches that have been played. International coverage, international players, there's always a worry as to, are you watching all of them? Are you able to see them? Have you kept an eye on them?
Yeah. You can be sure that we are able to watch them. Not every time live, but the day after or 2 days after, there's no problem. So we can see all the foreign players if we want, so we can look for the games. Some countries are more easier to see. Like for example, Premiership for Lille. Okay, you can watch as much matches as you want. Yeah. America is a little bit more difficult. Also Egypt is a little bit more difficult. But again, with the app that we have, Y-Scout, the day after or 2 days after, it's on the app and we can see the games. So there is no problem.
And it's still important to you, as it always been, as to the strength of the league where they're playing if it's overseas. Are there leagues that you wouldn't even bother looking at because you just don't think they're strong enough?
You know, we are looking at the leagues where South Africans are first. And then we see in which country it is. And some countries, I know the level of the competition. Yeah. I'm not really excited to see those games. It is for true. But this is not a problem here. All those players who are with us, who are not with us for the moment, are playing in good competition. So this is not a problem.
You've said this before, because we're about to announce the squad now. A lot of the soccer players are also going to be watching and listening out to this. This is going to be replayed over and over on radio and TV stations all across South Africa and perhaps, extended as well. The door is never closed at Hugo. So if you're not in the squad, it doesn't mean you're not making the AFCON squad. It just means you need to work a little bit harder, is what you said to me last time.
Yeah, this is what I like. So it doesn't have to be a present for the players. It's just something that they have to earn. And I think for a player playing for Bafana Bafana, for the national team, it's an honor. And that I want to see in a player. When he comes to Bafana Bafana, that he is honored to be there. And he wants to go till the end. And I think little by little that mentality came in the team. And now I'm very happy with that. When I see the last 2 games, so the 2 games against Liberia and the game against Morocco, you saw a team who wants to win the game. And this is very important. And also when we scout a player, this is something that's very important for us also. What is his mentality? And the mentality I felt in the beginning when I was here, they were happy to be with the national team. But that is not enough. So, and therefore, again, I'm very happy now with the mentality in that team. And you see also the results. In the last 7 games, we won 5 times and played 2 times a draw. So I think it's not so bad.
So the dressing room is important to you. If a player is good on the field but not great in the dressing room, that makes an impact on what you choose.
Sure. There's also something that I watch very carefully. When they are with us, how they behave in the group, how is their mentality, are they being with everyone, or is there someone alone? These things are very important.
So you've had that coach? You've had a player who you think, hey, football-wise,
I have in the past players who are maybe good enough to play, but didn't have the right mentality.
Coach, we've held up South Africa, we've held up everyone for long enough. Here it is, the national team. 2 games to be played now in September versus Namibia and Congo DR. Coach Hugo Broos, who have you named in your team?
Okay, we start with the goalkeepers, Roman Williams, Veli Motva, and Ricardo Goss. Defenders, Sidney Moby, Tabiso Moniane, Grant Kekana, and Consinati Sibisi, Audrey Modiba, Sianda Kulu, Motiba Mvala, and Innocent Mayela. The midfielders, Luc Leroux, Teboho Mokoena, Grant Margeman, and Batusi Obas. And strikers, Mihlali Mayambela, Temba Zwane, Kobamelo Kodisang, Percy Tau, Zakele Lepasa, Lyle Foster, Lebo Motiba, and Monapulo Seleng.
Well, there it is. The national team, 2 games in September. Hugo Broos has named his squad. Willem Nyandu, you've had the ability now, or the opportunity to see all 23 players.
Very interesting team, you can see it's 5 changes to the team that was selected for the game against Morocco, which was very impressive and successful a fixture because we won that game by 2-1. And also you look at some of the players who were not part of, or were in that team but were not part of this team. You can also see, and I think the coach will also expand on that, some of those changes are not really tactical changes, but also influenced by injuries as well. But I think for me, when you look at the selections, what stands out is that the coach now appears to have a core of his team, as he had said earlier. And because even some of the players who are back in this team are players also who've got your under-20 World Cup experience, Olympic experience as well. And some of them have been part of his squads before, maybe with the exception of Lebo Motiba, who's coming from the first time in this team. And I think also he started well the new season at RC Strasbourg under Patrick Vieira, already scored a goal at this time around. And also I think when you look at the attack, which excites me more, Zakele Lipasa, and the credit also here must also go to the coach, because towards the end of last year, coach selected a Lipasa who was not playing at Orlando Pirates. And at that time he scored the goals for him. And right now, Lipasa has returned to Orlando Pirates, scored his 9th goal yesterday in only the first 7 matches. In all competitions, he's been scoring. So I think this is a very positive team, especially when you look at the assignments that we are going to.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We want to know, Lebo Motiba, he's in the squad. What did the coach see that he hadn't seen before? And the players like Hlongwane, who's not here. None of the Americans, actually, base players are in this team at the moment. Why is that? And a lot more unpacked with Coach Hugo Broos when we come back. This is an exclusive of SABC Sport. You got Sidney Moby of Sekhukhune United, Tabiso Munyane Orlando Pirates, Grant Kekana, Mamelodi Sundowns. You've got Nkosinathi Sibisi of Orlando Pirates, Aubrey Mudiba of Mamelodi Sundowns, Sianda Kulu of SuperSport United. You've got Mutobi Mvala of Mamelodi Sundowns, Innocent Mayela of Orlando Pirates. Let's go to the midfielders now. We've got Luke Leroux of Volendam FC, Tebogo Mokoena of Mamelodi Sundowns, Grant Magaman of SuperSport United, Matusi Obas of Mamelodi Sundowns. The forwards, Mitlali Mayambela, who's out at Aris Limassol. We've got Temba Zwane of Mamelodi Sundowns, Kowamelo Kurisang of Morenis FC. We've got Percy Tau of Alakli, Zakele Lepasa, Orlando Pirates, Lyle Foster, Burnley, Lebu Mutiba, Strasbourg, and Munnapule Saleng, Orlando Pirates. There's 2 games that are going to be played, of course, in September. South Africa, Bafana Bafana getting ready for the Africa Cup of Nations. These 2 matches are going to be in September, the 2 friendlies. It is Namibia as well as Congo DR on the 9th of September at 2:30. And then the second one, which is Congo DR, is on Tuesday, the 12th of September at 5:30. Coach, a very well-formed squad. It does seem like you have your core players. One of the big complaints or challenges that you had arriving in South Africa was goalkeepers. You know, it was a huge struggle for you. You said there aren't enough South African goalkeepers that are number 1 in their teams. I see now, it seems you have more than you can handle, and you've got keepers that you can juggle between even.
Yes, but I think it's very important that there is an hierarchy in the keepers, that everybody knows this is number 1, number 2, number 3.
So what is your number 1, number 2, number 3?
Yeah, number 1 is like they are mentioned on the paper. So number 1 is Ronwan. There is no doubt about it. So for me, Veli is second and Ricardo is third.
Is this based on what the coach knows of the players when they've been at camp, or is it based perhaps on recent form? Because one could look at Veli Moto at Amazulu at the moment and wonder, is he the second at the moment?
Yeah, but this is something that has been already from the beginning.
Okay.
And again, I see no reason why to change that. We will see now, because therefore those 2 games in September are games to see other players. So I will let play, how is it called, Veli. In October it will be Ricardo who will play. So we can see also at that moment, is it still the same like before, or do we have to change? But again, if I have to change, I have to look very, very carefully to find also a keeper with the same qualities than those 3. We will see in the future, and let's hope, because it's always been a problem here, I think, in South Africa to have those good keepers, young keepers.
I remember Buthelezi at some point was...
Yeah, but Buthelezi, okay, he was injured and had some troubles, I think, in Galaxy. Now he's in Pirates, he don't play. I can't call him for the moment.
Peterson at Kaizer Chiefs?
Yes, not bad, but he has his weak moments sometimes in the game. And for a keeper, this is very dangerous to have those weak moments.
Coach, I'm going to move on now to Lebu Mutiba. Here's a question that you've been asked about this boy almost every time that you've come out here. He's been one of those that has come up to you to say, hey, are you watching Lebu? Are you going to call up Lebu? Lebu Mutiba is part of your team.
Yes, you know, Lebu was not playing in Strasbourg. And this is for me an important reason to take a player, because when he don't play, he don't have the rhythm of the game. But now, last season already a few times, so we start again to look a little bit more closely to him. And now, in the beginning of the season, he played the whole game, he scored, and he's the type of striker we don't have. He's tall, he's powerful. He's not. We don't have that same type. So therefore, we called him now, and he deserves it. And also he will have his minutes to play and prove that he can be a member of the Bafana Bafana family.
Really?
Yeah. Coach, I remember one game, and I saw you there with Coach Hellman, a cold Friday night at TUT Stadium. SuperSport was playing Cape Town City in that game, and we saw an initiative of a Grand Megaman starting a move and the assist. And we saw even this past weekend, he scored a goal against Stellenbosch. when I know that previously you've had him, but he has not made your final selection. But this time around, how do you see in terms of how he started the season?
Well, there is someone who has already a long time in the notes we make. But it was last season, let's say the second half of last season, that Magerman came more and more to surface. And we wanted him for the game against Morocco, but he was injured. So now again, he plays good, he scores goals. So I think he deserves to be with us, and also he will have the opportunity to play, and we will see. Because the step between the club and Bafana is sometimes for some players too big. They can't make it. So let's hope that Magerman can make the step, because he's a good player.
Those are the players selected by the coach. I'm going to throw it to the journalists to hear what questions they have in a moment. But let's talk about some of the players that didn't make your squad, coach. Let me go to America, for instance, in the USA. You've got Blom, Hlongwane, and Cassius Mailula, all three not part of your team.
Hlongwane is injured, so he can't be with us. The phone call with him yesterday. And okay, he will not play today, he will not play Sunday. Maybe he could be ready for one of the two games, but I think it's better for him now to stay there, and it gives me the opportunity to call someone else. Therefore, Kodisang is there. Mailula, okay, there was a transfer, adapting to a new team, didn't play so much in the month of August. He played now yesterday, I think.
Yes.
So, okay, Mailula is Mailula, and he will stay with us. But also now, for these games, it gives me, again, the opportunity to do something else. And the last one, Blom. I don't know what happens with Blom. Sometimes he plays, then for 3-4 weeks he don't play. So, yeah, I prefer then to take Magerman and to give him his chance to prove himself than to take again Blom, also someone who didn't play so much the last 2 weeks.
Let's come back home. A forward that the last conversation we had, you said there was such great potential in him, but I see he hasn't made your squad. Mayo.
Yeah, but Maya for the moment I think is a lack of confidence. It's not the same Mayo from last season, who scored, who was dangerous, who was... I saw him in a few games also yesterday, okay, sometimes he come in, it's not...
Came in very late yesterday.
I'm sorry?
He came in very late in the game yesterday.
Yeah, but also the previous games, this is not the Mayo we want to see. And I read something about his coach who said, yes, I have to give him the confidence, because for the moment he don't have it.
Maybe they're preparing him for a new team, you know.
Yeah, but no. The club coaches don't have to prepare the players for me. They don't have to do that, because sometimes they put me in a bad situation by not putting the players in the teams. I like that they play. Like, for example, now Mayela, he don't play in Pirates. I don't like that. I don't like that he's playing. But I don't think that the coach is preparing him for Bafana Bafana. But for me, it's very important that the players are playing.
Well, there it is. That's the list I had of players that aren't a part of the squad, that perhaps have been a part of the squad before. I'm going to hand it over now to members of the media. If anybody does have a question to share with us from the journalists, please do go for it.
Coach, you've selected a young Kobamelo Kodisang who's been doing well at club level. What do you think he brings into the setup? Thank you.
Kodisang.
Yeah, Kodisang, we followed him last season, and okay, we had some doubts about him because the level of the competition was not that high in Portugal. But now again, because there are some players who are not there, like Mailula, like Bongokule Hlongwane. So maybe it's the time to call him and to see how good he is. Can he make the step from second division Portugal to the level of Bafana Bafana?
And he plays in the Primeira Liga now. He have to promote the team. But
we will see. Because there are some important games in front of us. We are qualifiers in November, we have AFCON. So we need players who are on a very high level, and let's hope, because I saw him the first time in the COSAFA 2 years ago, and I said, wow, what a player. But then he had some troubles also with his club, and he didn't play and blah blah. So last year he played all season. So we will see. I give him a chance.
BBK?
Yeah, Coach, BBK Sunday Times. You said you came here and there was no team. And this is a project. You are building a team. Well, now the target is AFCON, of course, next year. And it's a project that is not a new baby for you, something you've done in Cameroon as well, and went all the way. South Africans are hoping that you can repeat that magic. If you were to gauge your team from where it started now to where it is now, and looking at the state of readiness for Ivory Coast, what would Hugo Broos' answer be?
Yeah, you know, we built that team. Huh? As I said, I started in September 2 years ago with many young players. I get critics because I didn't call the older players. But that was a plan I had to do. And sometimes it went good, but sometimes it went totally wrong. But you learn about those things. You learn if you are beaten 5-0 in France. You learn about the defeat in Morocco. So and that was the moment for me to change a little bit my view on some players. And I think I took the right direction. So from September last year, it went better and better and better. So that now we have that core of players who knows what I want. That is very important. Who have the right mentality. And there is a good mix between the old and young. So we still have to be better in the future. Because again, in November there are very important, difficult games. And I don't speak about AFCON. I know what it is. AFCON is very tough. So we still have to increase our level. But I think when you compare this team now with the team 2 years ago, there is a very big difference on every level. So I'm very happy now with the quality we have, with the level we have, but we still go on working to become better and to do a good, first of all, to win those 2 games in November. That will be very important, to start good on that qualifiers for the World Cup. And then at least or certainly pass the group stages in AFCON, and then we will see what our next opponent is.
Thank you very much, Coach, for that one there. And of course, the journalists, we're going to be coming back to the journalists with more questions in just a bit. But I know you're watching all of this and you're wondering, am I even going to be seeing these games on my favorite on SABC Sport, where I've watched Bafana Bafana play since back in the day? Those answers coming up now when the SABC head of sport joins us. A 23-man squad announcement by the coach Hugo Broos. Here they are in front of you. Goalkeepers, numbered as the coach says they are. Ronan Williams as your number 1, Veli Motwa and Ricardo Goss there. You got defenders in Sydney Mobi, Tabiso Munyane, Grant Kekana, Nkosinathi Sibisi, Aubrey Mudiba, Sianda Kulu, Mutobi Mvala, and Innocent Mayela. Mihlali Mayambela forms part of the forwards alongside Themba Zwane. You've got Kamelo Kodisang there. You've got Percy Dow, Zakele Lepasa, Lyle Foster, Lebo Mutiba, and Munapule Saleng. And then we'll move on to the forwards. Luke Leroux Deboho is also a part of that there, of all the forwards that we are seeing. Grant Magaman, Batusi Obas, Mihlali Mayambela, Themba Zwane, you've got Percy Dow, Zakele Lepasa, Lyle Foster, Lebo Mutiba, and Munapule Saleng. 2 games. Saturday, the 9th of September at 2:30 versus Namibia. And then, of course, the other one against Congo DR. This is going to be on the 12th of September at 5:30. The big question, will you be catching these matches on your favorite, on SABC Sport? To answer that question is the head of sport at the SABC, Keletso Totlanyo. Welcome, boss.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And thanks. Firstly, before I can respond to your question, I just want to congratulate Coach, and we're very proud as SABC that Bafana Bafana has qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations. We can't wait for the tournament to start in January, and definitely SABC Sport will be covering that event as well. And answering your question with regards to the upcoming matches,
showing the games?
We are definitely
Again,
showing
this comes
the games.
from there being, an article that has been written and people wondering, what is the relationship now with the South African Football Association and the SABC? Are we going to be seeing this carry on? This is what we've done for years. It's tradition in this country to watch those two things that have always been a major.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. SABC and SAFA has a very good relationship, and we are continuing to talk about upcoming rights because as you are aware, our contract is coming to an end at the end of this year. But with regards to the two matches that you're talking about, yes, those matches will live on SABC. It is confirmed. It's still part of the existing contract. And I'm not going to stop there. We also will be broadcasting the Bafana matches in USA. So, yes, we have a very good relationship with SAFA, and we are intending to continue with this relationship. Hence, we have started negotiating. It didn't start yesterday. We have actually started at the beginning of this year with a negotiation for the new contract. So yes, we'll definitely be showing all these matches on SABC and the radio stations as well.
We've got the contract till the end of this year. We're going to be showing all the games that encompass in that time, and we've started negotiations for next year, but that contract for the next 10 year rather, but that contract not signed yet, not agreed upon yet, but there is ongoing conversations.
Definitely, and we've been meeting. I think we had a meeting with SAFA the previous week, and I think this coming week we will be meeting again. But it's more the finalization of the contract and just reaching an agreement or crossing the T's and dotting the I's. But we definitely are, as SABC, as a public broadcaster, have an intention to continue with this relationship with SAFA.
And congratulations on the coverage of Bafana Bafana and the World Cup. I thought that was world class, absolutely brilliant.
I was very proud to be part of that. As you are aware that in my past life I used to be a director, and I really was excited to see the girls doing it for themselves out there in Australia and in New Zealand. And I really am proud of Bafana Bafana. In fact, our relationship with SAFA is really solid, and I really would like for anybody who actually believes that we do not have a good working relationship. I'm in constant communication with the president. Yes, there are times here and there where we do headbutt, but it's not something that we can say, no, the deal is off. We have a very good working relationship, and we are intending to renew our contract with SAFA for the next few years, probably 5 years.
Coach, speaking of Bafana Bafana, were you able to watch? Did you watch the World Cup?
Yes. I saw the games.
And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, good, very good. Even they played very good games. They were a little bit. It was a pity that they didn't went through. But yes, it was for me. It was a very good performance from Bafana Bafana, and it can be an example for us in January for AFCON.
Oh, I'm excited for it. Thank you so much for coming through, Boss Lady.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and all the best for next weekend's matches, Coach. And yes, like I said, Andile, rest assured, SABC Sport will still like to continue with the relationship with South African Football Association.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much. I can tell you now that I'm breathing better knowing that I can still catch it on my favorite. Let's take a break. When we come back, there's questions galore that come from the media. We'll take all of those.
Pieces, 2 delicious snack burgers.